They say power reveals not just who we are, but who we believe we can get away with being. The recent leak of Telegram chats among young Republican leaders has ripped that mask clean off. And what we see is not juvenile foolishness or a prank gone wrong. What emerges here is a subculture of hatred, misogyny, dehumanization, and violent fantasy. It is appalling and it demands answers, but more than that, it demands accountability from those who enabled it, both silently and overtly. Because these aren't fringe extremists. These are your young leaders, the ones that sit at banquets and photo ops, shaking hands with state chairs and congressmen, the ones you call the future of the party, and it's not isolated, it's rampant. And the fear isn't just that they exist, it's that you'll excuse it. That you'll issue some perfunctory press release and distance yourself publicly and then behind closed doors offer them a pat on the back and a stern talk about being smarter next time for what they share online. And let's be honest with ourselves. That's exactly what will happen. You'll be angry that they didn't cover their tracks better than you'll ever be about what they actually said, because that's what this party has become. It's a machine of plausible deniability, of disavowals with winks attached, and outrage that is performative and consequences that are non-existent. The content of those messages is horrifying. They joked about rape and called it epic. They celebrated Hitler and referenced gas chambers as political threats. They hurled racial epithets and mocked Jewish people, degraded women, and fantasized about violence toward political opponents. And there's nearly 3,000 pages of this shit from people in positions of leadership within the young Republicans. And yet the reflexive defense from the party faithful was predictable. It was out of context, it was doctored, or it was jokes. But even a fragment of it is too much. Because the point isn't whether it was meant as a joke. The point is that it was possible as a joke. That it found an audience among peers who laughed, applauded, or egged each other on. That's not a glitch in the system. That's a culture. When young militants or aspiring operatives talk this way, they're not rebelling against a system. They're imitating it. They've seen that smirk, that nod. They've heard the dog whistle. They've heard their elders invoke real America and greatness as coded permission to hate the world outside their tiny little bubble. And they're performing loyalty. Vulgar, violent, and eager, because they believe that's how to climb the ladder. And they're not wrong to think that. The modern GOP has made cruelty a currency. It's become the language of belonging. Mocking others isn't some shameful act anymore. It's a handshake, a test, a way to prove you'll fight without conscience. These young men didn't invent that ethos. They learned it. They learned it from cable news hosts and campaign rallies where mockery earns applause. They learned it from the leaders who praise fighters more than thinkers, who reward outrage over ethics. So when they traded these messages about rape and genocide and racial violence, they weren't paying tribute to anything except for the culture you built for them. So you can disavow them now if you want to, but until you confront why they felt they could speak that way in your name, you're only managing optics, not morality. And you do have a moral responsibility to every American, not just your base. And that means asking the questions you've avoided. Like, why did they think they represented you? Why did they believe you'd understand? Why did they feel safe enough to say those things and confident enough to laugh about them? Don't act surprised. You've spent years flirting with this kind of rhetoric. You've used it to rally voters and raise money, and you've turned owning the libs into an organizing principle. You've treated empathy like weakness and cruelty like wit, and when you finally got caught up in this shit, you called it an aberration, just a few bad apples. But it's not a few bad apples. The entire orchard is rotting from the goddamn roots. And it's not about a scandal either. It's about what kind of country we're becoming when we keep excusing this bullshit as rhetoric. The damage isn't only reputational, it's generational, because every time this happens, you look the other way. Every time you blame the media instead of the mirror, you're just telling these young men that they were the right to believe you'd protect them. And they will grow into our candidates and strategists and the next governors, and they will stand on podiums and call themselves patriots. They will speak of God and country, and you'll clap because they sound like you. And that's the goddamn tragedy, isn't it? Because they do sound like you. A movement can't disown its own reflection. That truth is ugly, but it's yours. You made it. You normalized it. You taught them that morality is weakness and that compassion is compromise, that power is the only virtue worth worshiping. So don't be shocked when your kids inherit your worst instincts. Don't feel betrayed when they repeat what they thought was your approval. And don't clutch those pearls at the language they used either, because you've been teaching them how to speak that way for years. And if you want to fix this, if you truly want to fix it, start with yourself. This isn't French. This is the future that you've created. It's your legacy, and it's your goddamn fault. Because the real scandal isn't what they said in private. It's that they learned it from watching you in public. And maybe this is the part where we stop pretending that darkness comes from nowhere. Maybe this is where the fathers of this movement can look down at the sons they've made and see a mirror looking back at them. Because hate doesn't grow in a vacuum. It grows in the silence between words, in the laughter we don't correct, and in the smirk that says, you're one of us. And when those boys joked about rape and race and murder, they weren't just mocking the world. They were echoing the one you built for them. So when you look around and you notice that the rot isn't just on the edges anymore, that it's in your bones, and it's in the language, and it's in the ease with which cruelty is disguised as strength, and one day you'll wake up and find that the children of your rhetoric have outgrown your control. They carry your banners, but not your restraint. They speak your slogans and your words, but now they're uglier and louder and unashamed. And then you'll say, well, we didn't mean for it to go this far, but it did because you never meant to stop it. There's no redemption in that denial, only truth. And maybe that's the lesson here. That the reckoning always comes, that the house you build on this hate and this bullshit will one day collapse. And the only sound you'll hear is your own voice echoing in the ruins of it. To find still death.